Hey everybody, I am beyond excited for a special reason today. It's because my technology is working and I am beyond elated. So, super excited. I have a whole new system. There should not be any lagging and I am no longer on CP time. You guys have been watching know I hate being on CP time. So, super excited. Oh, Akira is here. Hey girl. She is joining from Long Beach, California. You guys are awesome. I see all of you who were not only on time, you were a little bit early, which technically means you were on time. So, I am excited. Drop your city and state. I will shout you out as you guys come in. All right, so let me get settled here. Actually, let me move this out of the way. I am so jazzed, you guys. So it's just going to get better and better the more I learn this technology and all these fun graphics and things like that. All right, so at the very beginning, before I forget anything, I want to make sure I let you guys know who is responsible for this episode today. It is a company called Shampoo Buddy. All right, so check this out. Let me hold it up higher. Hold on, guys. See, this is where I need my team. Shampoo Buddy, and I just realized that my camera is reversed, so hold on, bear with me. Let me flip this around. I forgot I refreshed it. All right, so now we can try this again. There we go. Shampoo Buddy. This is super awesome, and I have it out of the box so you guys can see. This is amazing, this product. So I had this opportunity to wash my daughter's hair in this. You guys can go on the website, and I'm going to put the link in the description later. But you just have your child sit in here. You put their head in this little hole. You guys know who wash your children's hair in the sink. It is a whole thing. This was amazing. I washed my daughter's hair and it was night and day. I love it. I will never go back to sitting at the sink. And what's really cool is when they get too big to sit on the counter, they can actually sit in a chair with their head leaned back into the sink. So thank you so much to you guys out there, Shampoo Buddy, for bringing this episode. And if you guys want to advertise on the show, you can always send me a message on Instagram. It is a great opportunity to get the information about your company out there. All right. So if this is your first time tuning in, I wanted to let you know a little bit about what I do on my channel. Normally I drop videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then of course on Sunday nights I do a live stream. But I am very passionate about teaching people self-discipline and allowing them to reach their potential. A lot of times we are the thing holding ourselves back. And so if we can reprogram our mind, we can reach higher heights. So that is my mission. And of course, I love talking about all things love, dating, sex, and relationships. So tune in Tuesdays and Thursdays. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you get notifications. You just have to hit that little notification bell. And then you can follow me everywhere on the socials. Let's see, it's right here. Especially, there we go, Instagram. I'm on Instagram the most, and Instagram is where I give all my updates. I try to be good on Twitter, but I'm not as faithful there. And then on Facebook, I use Facebook for my Sunshine Club and a couple other things. But the main one is Instagram, so make sure you follow me there if you want to get information. And of course, I could not do this without my patrons. I have a group of people who are on patreon.com, and they offer support every single week. Apologize for the graphics, you guys. But they offer support every single week, and it's really, really awesome. So without further ado, I want to get into my special guest for today. We have Troy. Hey, Troy. It was frozen.
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
There we go. Hey. Good to have you, sir.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I'm going to give the people your background. You are a certified life and relationship coach, and gotta get my handy dandy graphics ready here. Dramatic pause. You are the author of the book, Teach Me How to Love, Why What You Don't Know Will Hurt You. So apologize for the graphic being in your face. We'll just remove that right there. All right. So guys, if you want to follow him, you can do so here. And I have this new preview screen, you guys, so bear with me because it's so many steps to try to click it on. There we go. There is his social media handle. You guys can follow him on Instagram as well. And it looks like okay, you were going in and out, but you're back now. You were frozen for a second. And so you guys can follow him there, Exclusive5 on Instagram. All right, so I want to shout out Chastity really quick. She said, hey, she made it. Yay, very good. She said she was going to try. Sundays are hard, so awesome. Thank you for coming through, girl. So Troy, I've had you on a couple times, but it's not always the same people watching. So I want to give you an opportunity to explain what made you want to get into the field that you are in, working with people. Where is that passion coming from, and kind of like, what does it do for you?
Yeah, so I think for me, I've always kind of been a student of relationships, right? Ever since I was a kid, people would tell you, like, I used to write poems, and I used to, write. I used to write letters from my friends to their girlfriends, and the people always came to me for like advice and all these other kind of things. And then I just became a student of it because I realized one thing, that relationships are the foundation to strong communities, right? So my mission is better people, better mates, better relationships, equals better communities. And so I figured my significance, my calling, was to help people build better relationships so that we can have better communities. And so that's why I do what I do, and I love every minute of it.
That's so awesome. I was saying to somebody, to me, the aha moment for somebody is everything. That when you just see that light bulb come on and that glimmer comes back in their eyes and they connect the dots, it's a really exciting thing. I know I like it when I experience it, and I like seeing somebody else experience it because it's something I was able to share. So,
I mean, I studied psychology in school. I mean, you got to really think about it. Like, all these steps just kind of came together, and this became the platform.
Right.
You see what I mean? So it goes to show you that God will put you in position, and you don't even know you're in that position.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
yes.
I love it.
Well, we are going to talk today about apologizing. Now, I will admit, I did not know that there was this big thing with women apologizing, or should I say, not apologizing. And then, it's kind of like when you hear about a new car, you see a new car, suddenly you see it everywhere on the road. Once I heard this, I started seeing memes and things like that about women not apologizing. So what have you heard? Fill me in a little bit, because I talked to the guys in my online group. But what have you heard about, the sentiment of with women and not apologizing?
Yeah, I think the bigger word is not even apologizing, it's accountability, right? It's almost like this idea that I feel like a lot of women, and this happens with men too, so I don't want people to think it's just women, but it tends to happen because I hear from more men.
Right.
And it's this idea of, I think some people think that apologizing equals weakness, right? It equals vulnerability. It equals, once you have to admit that you were wrong about something, it's like, oh, they might not respect me at the same level.
Right.
Something like that. But I mean, men all the time say this right here. She's just never wrong. She's never wrong. She's never going to be wrong. So, I'm going to leave it alone.
Yes.
That's what men say.
Okay. And CT Rude Boy, I see you. He said, hey, Yancy. Okay. So I did my research. Okay. I got a whole
Let's
outline.
Talk about it.
I'm really excited because I wanted to do some research, and I felt like, okay, apologizing, that's not really that meaty of a conversation topic. How are we going to have a lot to talk about? And I felt like I knew a lot about apologizing. Wow. Let me take a little piece of humble pie, because I started listening to TED Talks and reading some articles, and I actually shouted out some of the authors in my IG story today because I felt like they gave, took a little hair on me. I felt like they gave really, really practical information. And one of the things that I want to get into is why it's so difficult. And you just started touching upon it. These are lip gloss and big hair problems. Okay, you guys, so I apologize. I got hair in the lip gloss. I want to get into this because, I have this theory that men apologize more than women based on, what guys were saying. And so I want to know, what is your thought? I know you put a disclaimer saying you just talk to men more, but if you were to guess, who would you say apologizes more? And those of you in the comments, comment who you think apologizes more.
Oh, absolutely, men.
Okay. So that was an easy answer. Okay. So guys, comment in the comments. And also, while you're watching, please help me alert the YouTube algorithms and let them know this is the good stuff that other people should be seeing, because that means they will suggest it to people and push it out there. Just hit that like button, okay? Hit that like button if you wouldn't mind, and that lets YouTube know people are watching, they're liking it. These are not bots, these are real people. All right, so Sherelle, hey Sherelle, it's our girl Sherelle. Sherelle's watching, she says men apologize more. Abdul says men apologize more. And Abdul, I don't know if it's your first time watching, it looks like a new name, so hello to you if you are. So we're getting men. Okay, so check this out. So there is an article at Inc.com, And it says that men and women have different ideas about what type of behavior actually constitutes an apology-worthy offense. They made a bold statement and they said women actually apologize more. So, have you ever heard somebody talk about New Yorkers, comparing them to like LA people? They said LA people, we won't even make contact and we're, oh, excuse me, sorry, excuse me. A New Yorker could practically hit you and they just won't say anything. It's a cultural thing. So what this article was saying, obviously this is their thoughts based on what they did research on, but their thought was is that women, and I'm using the word offense, get offended more and therefore their barometer is more sensitive. So let's say you and I were an item because they tested it and they had going throughout the day. So you would be given a test and I would be given a test and I would say how many things were offensive during the day. And I would say, I think I offended Troy at least 4 times. You on your side gauged it and said, no, she only did 1 thing. So you didn't even see those other 3. So you're not even, if it was flipped, you wouldn't be apologizing for the things that you didn't even perceive as offenses. Does that make sense? Sorry to be so wordy.
No, I get it. I totally get it.
So I thought that was so interesting. And it makes sense because we can be pretty opinionated as women sometimes.
Pretty opinionated? Okay, that's a nice way of putting it.
We have a lot of feelings. We have all the feelings, as a matter of fact. So, I mean, in that sense, that would make sense. Let's see. They said women consider how often they apologize. And then this is one of the tips that they gave. They said constantly saying things like, sorry, I didn't respond to your text right away, or I'm sorry I didn't get back to you about that email. It may reinforce the notion that you've done something wrong. And I know I'm guilty of that. I say sorry, 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 sorry. And it wasn't necessarily something that I did wrong. And so they were suggesting that women could start to feel excessive guilt and toxic self-blame, and it could start to mess with their self-confidence. So when you are apologizing, ladies, make sure you actually did something that was offensive to the person. And then they were saying with the guys, maybe, consider a little bit more how your behavior might affect somebody else because you might unintentionally hurt that person. So the end of the day, the advice is don't assume that you offended someone and don't assume the other person was offended. Just ask so you even know if the apology is warranted.
It's funny how communication just changes. There's the answer to everything, isn't it?
Really, it really is.
It's funny how that works.
And also, I think for me, the challenge is not getting away from expecting the other person to be just like me. It's like, why, or that whole, why didn't you know it bothered me? It kind of plays into that, where it's like, maybe he's not insensitive necessarily. He's just wired differently. And something like that for him wouldn't have offended him.
Yeah. You know how many times I hear, he should just know.
Yes, that was me when I was married. When I first was married, I really thought if he loves me, he could just...
You just read your mind, right? Once he gets to know you over a certain amount of time, then there's no real excuse anymore, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, man, like the communication is everything. People will literally be mad at each other for weeks on end. They never communicate what's wrong. And then when they actually do talk about it, it's like, well, you did this 3 weeks ago. He's like, 3 weeks ago?
Yes.
Like, what are you talking about?
What is it called in legal terms? It's the statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations. Yeah, it's like,
we've already passed.
Mad about that from 3 weeks ago? Seriously? So.
And you think about it, a lot of times mamas are like, oh my God, and we could be helicopter moms, and the dads can be more grab them by the throat, and boy, if you don't, and that would also make sense because they're doing something that they don't feel is offensive. I mean, obviously, unless you're an abusive father, but you're going to be doing, especially with your boys, what you personally are not troubled by. I think it's the same way, like, you listen to guys playing video games, they talk smack nonstop. My son is 16 and he just rips into people, talking about how trash they are and da-da-da-da. Versus a woman, they're like, yay, sister, you did great. Way to knock out.
Oh my God. You know what? My wife says this all the time. She's like, you and your friends talk to each other so mean. Like she's like, y'all are so mean to each other. I'm like, no, that's just how we talk to each other.
And you guys aren't offended.
Not offended at all. So it's just that difference in how we operate with our peer groups.
Yes. So that makes sense why when you put the two genders together, doggone it, let me be great, little girl. That's why it makes sense that you might be saying something that's just matter of fact for you, or saying something to your child that you feel like is going to level him up. And we're over here like, oh my God, he's probably going to be crying in the corner somewhere. And you're like, he's going to be fine.
He's fine. I get it with my daughter all the time. It's like, you do know she's 5. That's what my wife will say. I'm like, well, she's old enough to understand.
There was, right. There was a video, and that's why I think it's beautiful when you have both. There was a video of a guy, and it was so precious. So he's on the floor, and he's lifting weights. He had the, what do you call it? The bar?
Bar.
The bar. And the baby was like, he looked like he was like a month or two, like, and he was gripping this little stuffed animal weight. So it was like plush, whatever. And he's literally looking like he's trying to copy it. And then there's a toddler behind. Well, the guy is actually pushing real weight. So the guys are commenting like, oh, that's so sweet, blah, 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 blah. And then here comes the moms. Oh my God, that weight is so close to the kid. Da, 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 da. And then you see the guys commenting like, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have more weight than he can control. He looks like he's controlling it. And I'm sure he knows how close the kid is to him. But we're so sensitive a lot of times. Abdul says, I thought you meant, do men apologize to women more than women to men? And I did. That's exactly what I meant. So you guys answered, you answered the question according to what I was saying. All right, so this is where it gets really interesting. All right, so here we go. Why is it so difficult? And you started to talk about some of the reasons. What are your thoughts on why it's so difficult? I'll just say for people, because we agree men and women struggle with it. And then I'm going to get into what this article said, which I thought was amazing. And I think this will help you guys have a little bit of grace when you're dealing with somebody who doesn't apologize quickly.
Yeah, I mean, apologies, I think the main word is vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Apologies take vulnerability, right? It also takes accountability, right? It means I did something wrong. We can internalize that. So sometimes we don't want to express that we've done something wrong because we can think something's wrong with us.
Yeah.
So
yes.
That's why apologizing becomes so hard for people, but it's also a very freeing thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you can take accountability and say that you're sorry for something, it makes the other person feel better, and it makes you feel better after. It's an initial sting to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
a little ego.
I'm a little stubborn. I can be a little bit stubborn,
yeah.
And so I've learned how to just drop my ego, drop my pride, be vulnerable in that moment, and say, I apologize. I was wrong. You see what I mean?
And it's so endearing.
It makes you feel, especially as men, like as men, you're being taught like, you ain't sorry for nothing. You beat them up, okay, you won the fight. You don't have to apologize for anything.
Yes.
You see what I mean? So it's
we
tough.
Apologize with these hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. Okay, so in Psychology Today, I want to make sure I give the source credit. Okay, the author is Guy Winch, and this is what he said. He said exactly what you said. So y'all, Troy knows his stuff, okay? Because I didn't tell him. I didn't give him the cheat.
Psych major in me, baby.
I was going to say. Okay, so he said, refusing to apologize often reflects efforts to protect a fragile sense of self. So when you were talking about the ego and being stubborn or whatever, we often attribute that as somebody being hard. It's actually the opposite. You having that stubbornness says that you're soft and mushy in the inside, and not in the sweet mushy way. Like soft, like you don't have muscle. It says apologies represent a major threat to their basic set of identity and self-esteem. And so I want people to understand through this person's eyes. So the non-apologizer compared to, let's just say, somebody who is okay with apologizing, because I'm like you, it doesn't feel great. But I'm not scared to say I'm sorry. That's never really been my struggle. So this is the difference. And this is so funny because a lot of times through life, I'll pick up on certain things. And then I realize there's like studies behind it and it's proven fact. But it just goes to show you there's really nothing new under the sun. But anyway, it says they have trouble separating their actions from their behavior. So therefore, if they admit they did something bad, in their head they're saying, since I did a bad thing, I must be a bad person. And they can't separate it. And I like to liken it to, there's a part of me that's me. Like, this is me. This is my skin. This is my face, my bones. This is me. But this is just my shirt. The shirt can come and go. It's not part of me. So if someone doesn't like this, or if this is problematic, you're not dismissing me. You're not dismissing Yancy. You're just dismissing this thing that is outside of me. And so they have a hard time separating. If you're apologizing for an action, you're not saying I'm a bad person. You're saying I did a bad thing.
But you know how many relationships could have been saved by an apology?
Mm.
Like there are people that come here. I just wanted them to apologize, right? I just wanted them to feel some remorse for what they did.
Yes.
But that stubbornness will keep you in that space where you will ruin your relationship or your marriage, or you will lose someone great because you refuse to apologize.
And the irony is that this is why I like to call the ego like that little man, it's like this little demon almost who's just this hater, because that ego will tell you the exact opposite. So nobody wants their relationship to end, but they're going, I'm going to do this because of this. But the end result is that your relationship is probably going to end. So everything that you're afraid of, it's like the insecure man that we talked about in Clubhouse. The insecure person is insecure because they don't want to lose the girl. But being insecure is going to be the thing that makes you lose the girl. So it's like,
exactly.
You got to learn to distinguish between those two voices. And that's one of the basic things I teach in my coursework, is to be able to distinguish. Because when you hear that little voice, you could be like, sucker, you ain't going to get me,
Mm-hmm. We got to stop equating accountability and apologizing with weakness.
Yes.
We got to stop doing it.
For sure. You all in my notes, man. I'm telling you, this is what I get for having a professional on. He said, if, for example, the person was neglectful, there is an assumption that they themselves are selfish and uncaring. If they are wrong, you made a wrong turn, the assumption is that they are ignorant and stupid. And can I tell on myself really quick?
Go ahead.
Before I became confident in who I was, I saw my identity. My identity was validated by other people's thoughts of me. This is why I could not take conflict. I hated conflict. So when my ex-husband accurately pointed out where specifically my ish stank, I would just it was like I felt obliterated, because I felt like I was being rejected and told that I wasn't good enough. I had something that was embarrassingly recent. It was in 2020, and I thought I came really far in 2020. In 2020, I had somebody tell me they didn't like two things that I did. And it wasn't even like a really big, I didn't like this. They just kind of mentioned it passively. Mm-hmm. I internalized it and said, clearly my company isn't welcome, because in my head, I would never comment on XYZ. If you came to my house, you and your wife came for dinner, I'm like, make yourself at home. You guys come over once, okay, maybe I'll serve you. Second time, the fridge is over there. Exactly. So this person wasn't like that. Their space was they were very OCD. It takes a while to let people in their space, but I internalized it. And this is where I want people to understand, a lot of times we are the problem. It's not that our partner is being overly aggressive. Sometimes they are, but a lot of times we are hypersensitive because we have not, what do you call it? We have not had our own sense of identity. What's the word I'm looking for? We haven't
was it like self-actualized, or what is it? Like we don't have.
It's like embracing yourself and knowing who you are.
Self-confidence.
Yes, thank you. That's basically, it's like you don't have the confidence, but it's not. I don't want people. I feel like confidence is used so much where it's not like confidence like, oh, I'm proud of myself. It's this true knowing who you are. Because if I came up to you and said, Troy, you don't know anything about psych. You don't care about relationships. And I said all these things were the complete opposite. You wouldn't be triggered at all. If anything, you'd probably kind of laugh and snicker because you're like, it's so outlandish, because you're grounded in who you are. You know your identity. That's what it is. Like, you know your identity. So if somebody says to you, you are behaving selfishly, and you know that's not the root of who you are going to be able to separate and say, well, then what actions did I take that came across that way? You're not going to go back to the drawing board and be like, oh my God, I'm a selfish person.
Well, that's why, like, when you think about it, a lot of times when there's conflict, people use words like always, never. They use these big words because of one incident. You see that happen all the time. It'll arguments, these small arguments turn into big arguments because the woman says to the man, well, you always, do this X, Y, and Z, or you never do this. And he's sitting there like, didn't you see me just do this yesterday? Yes. Right? And so it's like, it makes it very hard. But if you're grounded, like you said, if you're grounded in that identity, you realize, okay, she's mad at the issue, not at me as the person. But it still hurts.
I really like that you brought that up. And I think that's really important for people to note, especially people who are taking notes. but to avoid those absolutes, because I did a video about fighting fair, and there are certain rules of engagement. Even if it's not fighting, even if it's just regular communication, that is one thing to absolutely avoid, especially with children, because children are so God, I'm losing all my words. Like, they're able to be influenced. They're impressionable. They're very impressionable. And if you say like, "Oh, you never make your bed," or "You never get good grades," they really don't have anything to kind of compare it to, so they will just internalize that and feel like they're a failure, as opposed to, "Man, last year you really hit the ball out of the park, but girl, this year, what is going on?" We have to be careful with our words, that we're not reckless, because we can discourage somebody very easily.
Now see, there's some husbands out there right now who feel beat down because of the same thing. So
you're saying they have feelings?
Huh?
You're saying men have feelings?
Men have feelings? Yeah, I think we do. Right? But sometimes because we don't say anything, it gets looked over, right? But if you constantly tell a man he's not this, I'll put up a post today on Instagram about that, right?
You've been killing it, by the way, on your gram.
I appreciate that. But people like to go where they can be celebrated and not criticized all the time. And so if you're always criticizing, like you always find the wrong in the man, eventually they shut down. Men shut down and just be like, you know what, I can't do anything to satisfy her. Yes. And so it's like, why would I keep trying?
Yes. I had a guy tell me, "I love that you celebrate the stuff that other people either overlooked or they actually thought the opposite, that it wasn't, endearing." And it just goes to show, one man's trash, another man's treasure. But it's so important. And I like to give this rule of thumb, the 3-to-1. For every criticism, make sure you have 3 things that you say positively. There was this quote in the the car wash, and I'm see if I can remember it, but it said, if you love our service, tell your friends. And if you didn't, tell us. Because people have a habit of running and telling the bad news, and we don't often tell the good news. And so we really have to get in and understand just yourself. If you're always getting negative feedback, but you're just happy when they're just happy when they're just happy when you're doing things they like, so therefore they're just not saying anything. It's that what is that? That affirmation. I swear, I maybe I need to get more sleep.
It's all good.
I got like 3 hours of sleep.
That's not waking up at 4:00 every morning.
I stayed up until 3:30 last night talking to my son. We had like such a juicy conversation. When your kids want to talk to you, you don't miss that. And so we had some really heart-to-hearts. But what I was trying to say is there's those 2 styles where you can positive reinforcement. That's what it is. I really feel like my brain is like trying to, and my mouth can't keep up with my brain, or vice versa. But it's that positive reinforcement. So if you even have a sandwich, honey, like, you have been killing it. Thank you for every morning scraping the ice off the car and da-da-da-da-da. If you could just remember to da-da-da-da-da. If you do it like that, it's subtle, but it makes the person not feel so discouraged. I'm being acknowledged, and there's just a little something that they want. Maybe you can help me with Cheryl's. Oh, please, were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say here's the problem that happens sometimes, right? As you're with someone for a long period of time, or even when you've been taught a certain way, what happens is you get caught up in this mindset that says that's what they're supposed to do.
Yes, right? Yes.
And when you start to do that, you start to downplay the little things that people still need to be appreciated for. And so then when the criticism comes, now it's like a boulder hit me.
Yes.
Right? It's like, I do this stuff, all these other things for you every single day. Men tell me all the time, I'll make sure she's taken care of. I'll make sure the kids are taken care of. I'm being a great father. I'm going to work every day. I'm working hard. But then she's never satisfied. Well, that's because she doesn't acknowledge the things that he does well. Right? And then all of a sudden, she has a criticism and he blows up.
And I bet you if she's talking to her girlfriends, she's probably praising him. Like, "Oh my God, my husband does this, this, and this." And we take for granted. I would say this. Don't let him ever see this. I would say if you have a problem, not have a problem, but like if you struggle with remembering to say the positive affirmations, put a reminder in your phone. Literally put it in there for like twice a week. It could be like 10 a.m. So it always comes across like random. And just shoot a little text. I literally do that with my ex-husband. My baby daddy. I got baby daddy. But I'll say things like, "Thank you so much for making co-parenting easy," or "Thank you for being present in my kids' lives." Our kids' lives. "Thank you for being a good dad." Things like that. "Thank you for being on time with your support payments."
But here's the thing. Look at the other side of it. Right? I always challenge women to flip it.
Yeah.
Think about if he never tells you you're beautiful. Right? He'll be like, you know, I think you're beautiful. But if he never says it, he never acknowledges it, then you don't feel it.
That was a trigger because it actually happened in my marriage. He said, I married you. That obviously says I thought you're beautiful. I'm like, yeah, but I want to hear it.
What you should have been taught was she still needs to hear it. So the same way that men need to feel appreciated, women need to hear those things. Like, you look beautiful today. You know, you smell good today. She's doing all these things to try to get your attention, but you're not acknowledging them, right? Now, if a man says that's what she's supposed to do, he'd get his head chopped off.
Yes. Yes.
Right? He'd be canceled on the internet.
Never to be heard from again.
Exactly. So I challenge women to flip it the other way. It's never a men versus women thing. It's always do you put yourself in the other person's shoes?
I absolutely love that because it's so important for people to have that balance. And I swear to God, my brain just went
blank.
You guys don't ever have 3 hours of sleep before you do a live stream. I wanted to touch on what you just said. Just as fast as it came in my brain, it went away.
I was telling you to flip it.
Oh, you're always... Okay, thank you. You're always used to... This is what they're supposed to do. Okay, I was going to say, there was a study done, and if you guys have seen the Love Languages video that I just dropped this past week, please excuse me for repeating, but they did a study and said they took a bunch of employees. They said you can either have a little bit of a raise or you can get more consistent praise, like positive feedback for what you're doing. And almost unanimously, they chose that. I work for somebody, and I won't say which employer, but I worked at a job that I freaking loved. But my boss would only give negative feedback. He would just lay low. No news is good news type of thing. Like, he would lay low if I wasn't doing anything wrong, but he would pop up if he had a problem. And I can remember, like, the 2 times I got positive affirmation, I almost wanted to cry. It was just so awesome. And what people don't understand, who maybe they don't need words of affirmation, you need to understand that other people do.
You might need it. Absolutely.
Right. And so just that little thing, it makes such a big difference. Sherelle said, or I'm going to read Abdul's comment. He said, it takes more courage to apologize than to double down on being wrong. I agree. Sherelle says, it's a struggle that I have, but unconsciously. She said, I just missed the whole understanding of what warrants an apology. And Sherelle, we're actually going to get into that specifically in a little bit in this outline. This is, I'm telling you, I feel like I'm having an out-of-body experience right now because my brain is just so you guys, thank you for bearing with me. If this is your first time watching, I'm usually pretty on it, but tonight...
You're still good. Don't worry about it.
Thank you. All right. He said, what I'm working on is apologizing when I've unintentionally done something wrong. Yes, and Rude Boy, we're going to get into that too, because there's a way that you can do it without feeling cringy, because people don't want to feel like they're lying, so just hold that thought. Okay. Here's the other thing. So we were talking about what the person who struggles with apologizing, what they're experiencing, because it's not just black and white, like they're just stubborn and prideful, which is what I thought. I literally had to rewrite my caption for IG because that's what I was like, oh, they're just stubborn. So number 2, the first one is they can't separate their actions from their character. And number 2, apologizing might open the door to shame. So a healthy person just experiences guilt, like, oh God, Troy, I am so sorry I forgot your birthday. I feel guilty, and then I'm going to just go into what can I do to make up for it? I know he likes this, whatever. A person who has trouble apologizing, they feel shame. I'm not worthy. I'm not a good friend. Maybe Troy's going to unfriend me. Maybe he's not going to want to invite me to his next thing. It goes deeper for that person. So they feel like they're opening this door to this big, scary basement, that's pitch black and weird sounds are coming out. But for somebody else, it's like, no, Well,
think about it, though. Now that I think about that, you bring up a great point. Think about kids, right? And some parents are so guilty of this, right? Is you force your kid to apologize for something, and then you hold it over them for X amount of time.
You all my notes, Troy.
Oh, I'm sorry. But then what happens is they internalize that. So,
yes!
And I even had to learn this with my daughter, is if she does something wrong and I have her apologize, I don't hold it over her for X amount of time. I go back to her and say, you understand why this happened. I still love you. Give her a hug, kiss, whatever. But that I wasn't taught that. But I can think the average parent is like, I'm going to make you pay for doing something wrong. So I'm going to take my love from you, create shame, and then come back to you later.
You give me chills. You give me chills saying that because literally last night as I'm talking to my son, I said, I've done a lot of thinking on what type of parent I want to be. A lot. I'm telling you, you don't have a teenager yet. It is freaking awesome when your kid can like articulate to you and have an adult conversation. It is the coolest thing. But I was telling him, I realize if you look at the best parent in the world, the best father is our Heavenly Father, okay? Bear with me, y'all. I'm going to go spiritual for a second. But God doesn't wait over you with this like, comical lightning bolt. But Troy, you messed up. You passed the speed limit. Wow, and just strike you. He doesn't operate that way. And the more I read the scriptures, I understand him as a father in the sense that he knows the best path for you. So Troy, if you go on the 10 freeway, you're going to get there faster. There's less traffic, da-da-da-da. Now, you could go a different route and you could go around and you could be going in dead ends and hit traffic and all that. He's not mad about it, I don't think. It's more like disappointment because it's like, you could have had the best. So what I told my son was, I don't really believe in punishing anymore. I know it sounds radical and I'm not a hippie, I swear to God. Because I feel like punishment just leads to fear. I believe in, within reason, obviously, if they're like crazy, disrespectful, out of control, you might need to pull away some things. But I would rather sit down and have a conversation and say, these are the stakes. And are you ready to take that on? But if you have that attitude of, I'm going to punish you, you're teaching them to be afraid of you versus the consequence. And that's why when they go out into the world, as long as mommy and daddy can't see, or now I'm old enough, they're going to do whatever because they were more scared of the consequence. I mean, they were more scared of the parent and the repercussions than the consequence. And I want to flip it. I want them to respect me, and therefore they're going to stay in line out of sheer respect. But I want them to know, if you do drugs, if you have premarital sex, if you spend your money on all this stuff, these are your own consequences. Mama going to be living large, doing my thing. You the one have to deal with the consequences. So
that's good. That's good. Because I mean, think about it. All the parenting, that's been passed down from generation to generation, and a lot of times no one stopped to think about the damage that it did, and then it manifests in relationships.
Yes. And you don't have security because you are always told what to do. So you're this little robot. Yes, mommy. Yes, daddy. And then when you get to be 18, you're just suddenly supposed to be expected to make your own decisions.
But think about one of the four, what do they call it? One of the four horsemen is like stonewalling, right? So what we do to our mates is we're mad at them. And so we stonewall them out. We don't talk to them. We give them the silent treatment. That doesn't solve anything.
Yep.
Ultimately, it breeds resentment.
Yes.
There's one thing to take a break from a conversation. It's another thing to stonewall me and to not talk to me. You see what I mean?
And remember the rule. We said give the heads up on when you're coming back. I'm going to go wash the car, and then we'll come back and finish this conversation. I'm going to take a nap, and then we're going to finish this conversation.
Great stuff. And so, think about everything we're talking about are different skills. This is why we do what we do, right? It's because we can have this conversation, and people on the live right now are like, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
All we know before is what we were taught. So if we don't look at what the skills are, I mean, you were probably taught, mama probably didn't talk to daddy for 3 weeks, 2 days, whatever, however long it was. You see what I mean? So they created that stonewalling, or they created contempt. You see what I mean? Or they criticized them to death. I mean, I think back in my childhood, and I'm like, yeah, my mom was pretty critical.
So I found out recently that my family members watch my stuff. I didn't know that. So I will not be using any personal examples. I will give generic examples with names withheld to protect the innocent. But I'll just say, I know people who did not have a friendship relationship with their parent. And I know a lot of people say, I'm not your friend, I'm your parent. And I feel like that's too extreme. I feel like there should be a level of rapport where you are the first person they want to come to. I screwed up, dad is the first person I want to go to. I want to be the safe space where my anger and my sadness takes a back seat. It's kind of like the doctor. I'm gonna bring this back. I had a situation, it was so embarrassing, I can't even tell you what it was, but it's something that happens a lot after women give birth. But it's embarrassing. So I go to the doctor for this ailment. And the doctor goes, that was his reaction.
Mm.
Calls in a nurse, was like, I've never seen a case this bad. And I'm like, top 10 things that you don't ever want your doctor to say. I needed him to be like, okay, give me a minute, and go down the hall and be like, yo, we need to come in and see this case because this might need surgery. You as a parent, I feel like if you lead with your anger, you lead with your disappointment, it just puts the weight of the world on that child. And I think people forget how grandiose their parents are in their mind. Their parents are just everything. That's why, like Tony Robbins, his mom was freaking abusive. I'm talking like she could have got locked up. But he loved her and kept wanting to please her because they put us on pedestals. And we have such a responsibility to be that safe space. And I feel like when you have that tender relationship, you don't have to, like they say in the Mexican culture, get the chancla. You don't have to get the belt. You don't have to do those things. All you do is you look in their eyes and you say, Troy, that really hurt me. I'm really disappointed. And that is like, you don't have to go over the top.
But that's the thing. Like, all of this stuff you're saying, like, as you're saying it right now, I'm thinking about how it manifests in adult relationships, right? When people stay with an abusive person because they love them so much, right? It's familiar to them. And so they stay, because people always look at people that are getting abused and they say, well, why would you just stay?
Yep.
What you don't understand is that's what is normal to them. That's what's familiar to them, so it's comfortable. And they equate that with love.
Yes.
Right? So if you teach your kids to equate abuse and things like that with love, then when the man abuses them or the woman abuses him, whose fault is that? At the end of the day. So we got to just be really conscious of, and this is go back to the topic at hand, which is apologizing.
Mm-hmm.
If you never, like, I am very intent about apologizing to my kid when I do something wrong.
Yes.
Very intent. And you know what she says? It's okay, Daddy.
That's my daughter too. She's like, you're so perfect. You're the perfect mom. And I'm like, I'm really not, but thank you.
But it's like, you know how much work it took for me to get there? Because I was, a big part of me is like, it's that pride, it's that ego. It's like, well, I'll try to find every reason why I wasn't wrong. But I'm like, yeah, I was kind of wrong. So let me go.
And this is actually, I'm telling you guys, he did not see my notes. You're all in my notes because that was one of the closing thoughts. I'll still give as a closing thought. But they were saying that a lot of times people didn't see that modeled growing up. So what you're doing, for you, your counter, because you're going to feel that ego, obviously, but your counter is, I am modeling this for my daughter now. My daughter's generation is not going to struggle as much as me because it's going to be normal. I saw that all the time. So it's going to be nothing because that's what she saw. So, you might feel like it's a little bit of a sting, but you're totally strengthening her subconsciously. And I was going to say also with some of the things that manifest in as an adult, if you're one of those parents that puts so much pressure on the child to perform, whether it's grades, sporting events, or just being like a different sibling, and you come across as showing more rewards and favoring when they perform as opposed to just period, I give you consistent love, those are the people who look for people who are going to validate them. And they're not just happy in themselves. They're only happy when Troy gives me a compliment. They're only happy when Troy tells me I'm doing a good job. And, it's just, we're planting so many unhealthy seeds in our children by doing a lot of things that are problematic that way.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I think it's imperative that we just are conscious, right? We just got, as parents, as partners, as spouses, we just got to be conscious of things. What if I unconsciously raise my daughter to never want to apologize to her husband, right? Now she becomes the same woman that I'm talking about right now.
Yes. We can't have that. You guys, if you could take a moment, those of you who are watching right now, if you can help me immensely, this is like collecting tithes and offerings, I'm just playing. You can click that like button. It's super helpful because it lets YouTube know you guys are interested and you're liking this stuff. YouTube doesn't always know what's happening, so this is the best way we can communicate with the computer that is YouTube. So if you could take a moment and do that, that would be amazing. Thank you so much for you guys doing that. All right, so we talked about the apology. They can't separate their actions from their character. We talked about opening the door to shame. And this is exactly what it says. Okay, so in this, who was I think this was, Guy Winch. also Dr. Levick, I'm sorry, I want to quote Dr. Levick. He said that oftentimes, if as children we were shamed or punished when we did something wrong, it's scary to apologize. And like you said, not only are they shamed, it's lorded over them. There was a situation last night with my daughter, and I could see that she was getting embarrassed. I could just tell. And I took that moment to say, I see your mood just changed. I see something's happening. And I asked her, why, what are you feeling? And she finally said, shame. I could see it. You know your kids. You know all their expressions. And so I was able to talk her through it and reaffirm, I love you. Like, nobody is going to love you harder than me, so you should not be embarrassed. I'm the last person you should feel embarrassed by. But it's natural. Even as loving and patient as I am with her, it's just innate. So I can't imagine somebody who's ripping into the person, how the person's going to feel. Rude Boy says, you'll never know if you're unconsciously raising your daughter to be like that until it's time, though. I disagree, because if he's instilling positive things, he is subconsciously planning that in her mind. That's my opinion. He also said, Troy, you always hold it down. So that's nice.
Appreciate that.
All right. So they experience guilt and they feel bad about themselves, and it just starts tearing them down. The third thing is they fear an apology will open the floodgates to further. So it's kind of like you tell the cop, yeah, you can check my trunk, but now you're like, crap, he might go into the backseat, he might go in the glove compartment, the console. Okay, so they're afraid that their apology will open the floodgates to further accusations and conflict. The attitude is this: once I admit to one thing I did, now the person's going to pounce on an opportunity to pile on all the other stuff. And I hate when people do that. You didn't bring home the thing I asked you to. And last week you didn't this and that. And it's this whole laundry list that comes out. And now you feel smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's difficult. Versus the person who is healthy, they see an apology as an opportunity to resolve interpersonal conflict. So for me, I'm like, let's hurry up and apologize and get to the good stuff. We can make up even because I have a healthy relationship with apologies. But to the other person, it's like, oh God, I don't know what Pandora's box I'm opening.
You know what they get? They get that paragraph text message. It's like it started off as one thing, and now it's 10 things on the list.
And furthermore, you just see those dots, those 3 dots. You're like,
they're still going, and this and that, and this, and then men be like, oh gosh,
I shouldn't even married you.
I should have never apologized in the first place. I knew I should
yes. Y'all, if you can relate, let me know in the comments. Okay, number 4. And this is the one that I think Rude Boy was mentioning earlier. Number 4, they have a fear that by apologizing, if you're just tuning in, people who have a hard time apologizing often have fears, and we're breaking down the fears. So the 4th fear is that they fear that by apologizing, they are assuming full responsibility. We've all seen kids, right? Because you can only talk to one kid at a time. You hear boom, crash, and you call the kids in. And you go to the first kid. What did you do? First thing they say is, ah! As though you're not going to do your due diligence and talk to each one and they want to immediately go. It's the same thing with a work project, Okay, Yancy, you didn't have your report done on time. Yeah, but Karen didn't do her copies. Like, what does that have to do with Karen? You can own your piece and the world won't end. Your piece, P-I-E-C-E.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that's what's so important about that is like deflection becomes like the go-to in relationships.
Yeah.
Anytime someone brings up something to you that you could have done wrong, an offense you had to them, what's the first thing you do? Well, you do so and so.
I hate that.
But that doesn't create a good. It's back to skills and unhealthy. And I still have to work on this, right? Or you see this on the internet all the time. A man brings up something that he dislikes about whatever a woman said or did, and the first thing she says is, "Well, we wouldn't do this if y'all didn't do this."
Yes, I hate that so much because you can never get traction. No. I like to say only one person can approach the bench at a time. Only one person can be offended at a time. And I feel that whoever approaches the bench first, that's it. Because if you now bring up your offense when I'm already at the bench, you look like you're just retorting. You look like you're just trying to tit for tat. And like you said before, you need to talk about your offenses when it's happening. And if you deem that it's not important enough to talk about, take that to the grave. Because otherwise, you're collecting your little bag of offenses, or little bullets in your gun. And you're lining up, and you're like, "Come for me."
Yep.
Come for
Exactly
okay.
What's
And those people give themselves credit, Troy. They're like, "Oh, I let things go, and no, you didn't let it go. You just didn't verbalize it. That sucker is right here. You lining him up,
waiting on it, and then they'll be like, "Well, I want you to be honest with me. Just tell me the truth. Be transparent." Well, why would I do that if every time I'm that way, you come back with your loaded clip of everything that I'm doing wrong? You see what I mean?
That you so graciously didn't tell me.
Communication, it starts with that.
Yes. And this is where you have to look at yourself. So if you're that person who fires back, "Well, I don't like your face. Well, I don't like your hair." Oh, my God. If you're the fire back person, look inside and see how secure you are. That's tough, but that's real talk.
It's hard. I've had to do it.
Are you secure? Because if you feel the need to rip somebody and you can't take criticism, that is a sure sign of insecurity. And I was when I say the most defensive person you will ever meet. And my family would ask me, "Why are you so defensive?" And I'm like, "Because you're attacking me. I need to defend myself." And I realized I perceived it to be an attack on Yancy, even though they were just attacking the behavior. But it took me years to separate.
And you know what men tell me all the time, right? Men will say, in their relationships, "I don't ever feel heard," right? And it's not because, a woman will say, "I want you to come to me and talk to me." But it's one thing for me to talk to you. It's another thing for you to hear me without defense. And once you come back with all of the defenses, guess what happens? I still don't feel heard.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're like, "Well, if you only took out the trash, then I would give you some sex."
I explained it away. Yeah.
You see what I mean? It's like so now my thought isn't valid.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I don't feel heard. And if you don't make my thought valid, I stop talking.
Yes. I love that. In that situation you're saying, the husband comes to the wife, "I'm not getting enough sex." The ideal situation is, "Honey, I am so sorry. How often would you like to have it for you to feel satisfied, loved, whatever the case may be?" This is the thing I want people to understand. When I give advice or Troy gives advice, it's not black and white in the sense of that's just it. You can never have at that thing some other time. So let's just say, for example, in that same scenario, the husband says, "I'm not getting enough sex." I might have a valid reason why, but it's important in that moment to recognize he's approaching the bench and pick a different day entirely. Because when you understand the psychological aspect, maybe you're tired because he comes home every night and instead of helping with the kids around the house and getting dinner on the table, he just plops on the sofa. So instead of retaliating, make a mental note or write it down if you're the type of person that forgets, and then you can calmly, maybe over a foot rub, "Babe, I was really thinking about this, and this has such a different different response, right? Babe, I was thinking about this," rubbing your feet, "and you were saying that you wanted more sex, and I was trying to think, God, how can I," and you twist it, don't make it like pointing fingers. "I really want to give that to you. I love the fact you still want me. You could be out here lusting after someone else, so that's awesome. But God, by the time I'm done with dinner and packing the kids' lunch for the next day and then cleaning up after dinner," and this is where you can kind of play dumb, ladies. "Gosh, I'm just so tired." And I guarantee you, if you have a good dude, he's going to say, "Oh, well, it's just a matter of you having more energy. Okay, maybe I can come in and help out with the dishes, or maybe I can," and you have those types of effective communication. And I think if you have a solution-based conversation rather than "I'm going to sentence you, I'm going to have a verdict," or like you're assigning blame is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
It's not a who's wrong, him or her. It's this is my problem and how can we solve it?
Yeah, and let the man have his moment.
Let him.
Right? He needs his moment because he doesn't ask for moments often. Most men don't ask for a lot of moments that often.
What did we say at the beginning? Men have less offenses.
Exactly. We have less offenses. So when I bring you an offense, let me have that moment without blame and deflection, right? And what you did was the way you just explained that you role played it was very feminine, right? It was very solution oriented. It was very honest, right? Most men that love you want to satisfy you. They do. Sometimes we are definitely oblivious, though. I mean, I know y'all think, because it goes back to he's supposed to know.
Yes.
Right? It goes back to that. You know how many women are mad at their husband right now because of something they think he's supposed to know? And he's like, he's perfectly fine with doing it the way he's been doing it.
I told Sherelle we have girl time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling her a situation where I have these preferences. So if I'm in a relationship with somebody, especially if I'm trying long term, because long term is long term, long distance. I hope it's always long term. Long distance relationships, I like to have a schedule, especially with what I do for a living. Like, I want to know we're going to at least connect at these particular times. There were 3 rounds I went with this guy I was dating. And I tried to explain to him, I don't feel loved because I need this specific thing. And I felt the very first time I was very clear on what I needed specifically. By the 3rd iteration, I had to literally say, I need a time slot where I know you are going to call. And I felt like I was being almost patronizing. What I told Sherelle is I realized men need that specifically, because on his end, he's probably going, I do call you every day. No, I'm literally saying, I want to know what time, because then I'm going to book the rest of my day, but I want to make sure I give you my quality time. And it took that 3rd time to realize, oh, he's missing the scheduling aspect, which I know doesn't sound romantic, but when you're an entrepreneur, you gotta, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, put it on my calendar.
Yes, this is the thing people don't realize. That's the highest form of love for me. If I put you on my calendar, that means that you're such a priority. I'm gonna make sure nothing comes in that space, when it's supposed to be your time. So thank you guys so much for the likes. If you guys have liked already, awesome. If you haven't, take a moment to like it. It lets YouTube know that this is the good stuff. I love this, and you guys comment if this is helpful to you, because we don't get paid doing live streams, but the currency for us is seeing that aha moment for somebody else, seeing that comment that says this was helpful, this helped me break through. I love it. I read that article today and I responded. I tweeted and said, I love your article, because people produce this content and then they never know. It's like throwing it into a black hole. You don't know if it's sticking. So let us know if this is resonating with you guys. Let us know the favorite thing you've heard so far. Just all that good stuff. Give us a little love that way. It's nice for us to know.
Some of those words of affirmation.
Exactly. Chastity says, I need a time frame too when I'm busy. Yeah. And it also, to me, it puts me out of my misery. Because if I'm in the morning and I'm like, my day doesn't really start, I like to jokingly say it's my coffee. I want my morning call. So if I don't know when that call is coming, I'm kind of on edge, because it's like, I don't really want to get started on a task because I don't know if it's coming, and I don't feel grounded. So it's a whole thing. But the point is that once I really broke it down, he got it. Okay, the last one is the fear of why people don't apologize is that they're trying to manage their emotions. And this is very common with most people. For whatever reason, anger, even though people are overcome by anger, just like any other emotion, there's an illusion of feeling like they're in control.
Yes.
Most people would rather be angrily punching something and screaming and spit flying out of their mouth than crying hysterically in the fetal position. You're out of control either way, but there's a perception that I'm more in control with this raging emotion versus this raging emotion.
Oh, yeah. But look at fighters, right? I mean, look at any sports. People will tell you, if you can get someone angry, you can get them outside of themselves. Yeah. Now you got them where you want them.
Yeah. How cute. Rude Boy says, I had 2 aha moments from this live. I always learn something. I think Rude Boy is probably one of the best in affirmation. He is always giving me feedback. He will always let me know. So thank you, sir.
We appreciate it.
You good with me. Yeah, he's real good. So it says they're more comfortable with anger, irritability, and emotional distance, and they perceive emotional closeness and vulnerability to be extremely threatening. They have the fear that lowering their guard, even if it's only slightly, will make their psychological defenses crumble and will open the floodgates of sadness and despair that will pour out of them, leaving them powerless to stop it. Because remember, it's triggering them not feeling good enough. So it's not like they're just over despair that I'm bummed I hurt my friend Troy. It's personal. I feel like I'm a horrible person, and now it's triggering this whole, it's just self-loathing type of thing. But understand that even if it does trigger that and it comes out, it's not traumatic. A lot of times those outbursts are so therapeutic and healthy, and they actually feel good. You sleep really good after a good cry when you're just kind of
Oh yeah,
purging all that stuff out. It's better than sex sometimes as far as the after feel.
I get it.
Daniel says creating that time frame and schedule makes things a lot easier in a relationship, especially as you said when you're an entrepreneur. Yes, 100%. That's how I feel. So I thought this was really interesting. Now, here's the other part that I want to add. It's not always that the person is just innately insecure. If you have had multiple partner prior to your healthy partner, and this is why I get so angry when people are abusive emotionally, even if they don't know better, it's because you damage that person. So now when I'm trying to date him, he's having a hard time opening up and being vulnerable because the last 3-4 women are telling him, man up, you're not a real man, you're yada, yada, yada. And now we're trying to undo all of that. So understand that when you are wild with your tongue, you slick with your tongue, and you're abusive, you withhold, what did you say? You stonewall.
Stonewall.
When you do all these things, you are damaging that person down the road, and you're hindering their future relationship. So you might move on, you broke up, and you feel good, but now you set this person down a downhill spiral that they're going to have to really work to come out of. And most people aren't watching these types of things, so they don't even realize they're damaged. Okay. All right. I told you I had the whole notes today because I thought this was so interesting. All right. So, and let's see how we're doing on time. Okay. So we're good. The point is, and this was a great note. They said opening up is actually therapeutic. So if you're scared of like going there and feeling all the feels that women tend to feel, opening up is actually therapeutic and empowering, and it could lead to an experience that is it will lead you to experience a far deeper emotional closeness and trust towards the other person, and then the relationship is more satisfying. I've had situations. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so what you're telling me is it creates intimacy?
Isn't that crazy?
Is that what you're telling me?
Your
like,
spirits are
being
closer.
Being able to apologize and being able to open up to each other, that creates intimacy, huh? So this is what I'm trying to tell. I'm trying to tell people, like, you disconnect without being vulnerable with each other. Yes. That pushes you further apart.
Yes.
The more vulnerable you can be with each other, which includes apologizing, then the more close you feel because you feel like you can trust those people. Here's the important piece, though. When someone apologizes, you have to be able to accept it and not turn it back around into something bigger than what it is. Because then they become defensive. Now I'm closed off again. Because I'm like, I opened up to you, and now you're like, yeah, I told you so.
I cannot stand it when people cannot graciously accept an apology.
Oh my God.
Or it's like when the person, so for me, I see things very creatively, even when it's live, right? So when I see somebody apologize, I know that their ego is on fire. I know that they summed every ounce of courage, right? So in my head, I'm picturing them holding on by a thread, walking on a tightrope with bullets zigging past their face. Then that person comes in and piles back. They like reiterate what happened. Yeah, because I told you that. And I'm just like, oh, you didn't even take a beat. Like in screenwriting, it's called a beat. You take a moment before you say your next line. You didn't even take a beat. Like, take a beat to just let that apology just marinate. And you don't really have to come back and have that extra comment. The only comment should be, I really appreciate, you apologizing. And that doesn't mean that your wound is gone, because it could be something big, like he cheated or she cheated. It could be something big, or this person embezzled. But you could still be gracious for the apology. And you thanking them for the apology is not saying, all is forgiven, I've forgotten. It's just saying, I realize that was a big deal for you to do. Thank you.
It's amazing how that works, right? But if we don't drop our egos, then guess what? We will continue to have that same cycle, and no one will ever really feel heard.
Yes.
And that's just so unfortunate, because it's beating down intimacy.
Yes.
At the end of the day, that's what it is. That's beating down your opportunity to have intimacy.
I feel like, people say communication is so important, and it is. Communication to me is like the closest thing you have to, if you have two iPhones, you can pair them by just coming in close proximity, or some other phones can do that too. But it's like, we can't do that with our heads. We can't put our heads close together, but, that's what Troy's thinking. The only way we can get remotely close to that is through communication, and the more effectively you can communicate without layers, and you could really just succinctly say, it bonds you. And it's so interesting. So I dated this person, and I wasn't feeling the intimacy. That's one of the things. I had a lot of issues growing up, but I grew up in a house where there was total emotional intimacy. People bore their souls. My dad, I see him cry. Like there was open and vulnerability. So I'm not used to people not. So I dated this guy, and I'm ready to walk away because I felt like I'm not feeling the vulnerability. He finally opens up and says, I've had so many people, act like they're interested in me. I let my guard down. I expose my soul. I start to give like full speed, and then they leave. And then I'm like just devastated. And so it allowed, just that one piece of information allowed me to, one, empathize with him. Because before that, I'm thinking the worst. This guy's an asshole. He's a player. He's not really into me. He's barely calling me. He's barely opening up. And then you get that insight into the person's head. It allows them to empathize with you. If they're a healthy person, they're taking that information and going, oh, I know now how to proceed with caution. Not everybody is looking at it, okay, I got something for this guy the next time he has an issue. I'm about to get his weakness. Not everybody is like that.
But listen now. Here's the key. That means you have to have done some work to understand yourself better. Right?
To be able to tell the next person, you have to know yourself.
Some people can't communicate it because they don't know why they're triggered by certain things, right? So that means you got to do a little work. So it wasn't until I started to look at myself and say, why do I respond this way to these kind of things?
So you just see the response, but you weren't going past it to say, why am I? You just say, I just responded this way.
Because I can't communicate that to someone else. Now I can't give you true intimacy because I don't even know why I'm triggered.
How do you start to do that work? Because for me, it's always been extremely easy. I'm not tooting my own horn. Like I said, I have plenty of problems. That's just not one of them. When I had a guy tell me, I don't know what I'm feeling, I honestly thought he was lying and trying to get out of the conversation. It wasn't until I heard so many people who didn't have any skin in the game say the same thing, I realized that some men, I say men because I'm stereotyping, but a lot of men haven't been taught emotional intelligence. How does somebody who's, let's say, watching begin that journey short of like hiring a therapist or, getting a psych degree? How do they start to get in tune with the why I'm feeling rage, the why I'm feeling sadness, the why I'm feeling, whatever?
Well, I think it comes back to what you just said, right? Why? So any emotion you have or any impulse you have, start asking yourself why. What is it about me? Why do I feel this way in this moment? Versus just saying, that's just who I am, right? Because that's what we do. We say, that's just who I am. But is it really? One thing we do know, we can identify with pain. We can identify with failure. We can identify with consequence. We can identify with all the things that doesn't go right. And just start saying, okay, this behavior produced this. It didn't feel good. Why did I do it? And then the second part, of course, is therapy, right? Therapy helps people get back and dig back and start. But that's why work and healing is so important. Like the work that you do, the work that I do, like the work that we try to encourage people. We always hear people say, you got to do the work. Well, most people don't even really realize what the work is.
What the work is. Yes, all these little cliche phrases.
It's like, do the work. But working is about coming face to face with yourself and understanding yourself at a higher level. And once you understand that, you can then change your behaviors accordingly. It doesn't mean the impulses go away.
Yes.
Now what I do is, like, somebody once told me that maturity is the time between impulse and behavior.
I like that.
Right? Now I understand I have a lot of impulses, but my behavior is different because now in the middle I ask why.
Yes. I like that. And the place where you start, and I'm writing a book about this stuff, and the very first step is tuning out. I tell people, tune out. A lot of times we can hear all those voices, but we don't want to hear them because it's a lot of work. So we drown it out with business, work, radio, TV, podcasts, relationships, whatever, right? So the very first step is tuning out. And then the second step is tuning in. So now you've tuned out the noise, and now you're listening. And like you said, I remember I was rejoicing, I think it was yesterday, because I was telling a story about how my anxiety attacks, and I was like, I haven't had an anxiety attack in months. And I realized that there was still major healing that needed to happen that took place, and that last one got triggered by. So I don't even know if I'll ever have one again. I might be free from it completely. But what I would realize in those moments of panic, I would talk to myself and say, what is wrong? What triggered this? What just happened that made me feel this way? And sometimes it was totally irrational. It's just, I think it was like an aftershock, like California with earthquakes and we have aftershocks. I think that I had a lot of PTSD, so I would just sometimes just randomly start having heart palpitations and trouble breathing. And I would just have to say, okay, you're fine. And then I would do breathing techniques. But the other times I would say, somebody just gave you negative feedback. Okay. And I would sit there and have a full on conversation with myself like you and I are talking. And I would say, okay, that didn't feel good. All right. Is it the end of the world? No. Does this person affect my pay? No. Are they going to smear my reputation? I would literally go through all these scenarios and I would talk to the voice inside and say, okay, it didn't feel good, but it's okay to let that go. And I would talk to myself. And this is where you look like a freaking nut job, but thank God you can do it in your head silently. No one has to know. So when you do this, we have to learn how to soothe, because we have all these raging emotions inside of us. And because we don't know how to bridle it, it's like being in a car that, the pedal gets locked. We don't know how to steer. We just go, well, then I'm just going to distract myself, alcohol, sex, and this and that. But the beauty is that when you feel these feelings, you can then process and then determine if it's even something to bring to your partner. You might not even need to bring it at that point because you're like, oh, that just reminded me of when my mom would always tell me I wasn't good enough. You know what? That's not even her issue. That's mine. Y'all, the work, it pays off.
It does pay off. And too many of us are in relationships where we're expecting our partners to heal us. Right? And it's so unfair.
I was so guilty. I was so guilty. Make me whole. Make me whole. That was my thing. Mm-hmm.
It's like, make me happy, make me whole, but no one can make you happy if you're not happy. Right? If you're not happy with yourself, it doesn't matter. Like, he can do anything. He can do everything right. You're going to find something that's wrong because you're not happy with yourself.
Because you're delusional when you're not healed. Like, I'm sure we've all seen relationships, like, on movies or whatever, and it's like, are we watching the same show? Because the person's reaction was so wildly inappropriate for what happened. She just said she didn't like your shoes, and you broke up with her. It makes you delusional. Like, you hear things that aren't being said, you perceive things that aren't being done. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing, and I'm glad we're having these kind of conversations now, though, like where people are actually talking about this. I think before we would have all these feelings, and no one knew what it was.
Yes. I don't know if it's because I'm so focused on it, so I see it, but I just feel like our generation, like, I'm 40, but, most of the people in my following are like 35 to 45, and I just feel this hope because for so long in my Facebook group, I was just looking for answers. I didn't know. I didn't come into the platform like an expert. I literally was asking questions. And because of all my doggone questions, I turned around and there was a whole following. I never intended to be an influencer. I never had any ambitions to do anything on social media. So people then were like holding me accountable, like, ma'am, you done brushed up all this dirt. Where are the answers? And I'm like, the hell if I know? I'm literally asking for myself. So this past year, I've had so many epiphanies in 2020. I know it was God setting me up to be able to then share what I've personally gone through in 2021. But the fact that so many people want solutions, they've literally said, I'm over the gender war. It's women, it's men. No, we're all effed up.
We're all and here's the thing, men want answers too. Like, that's the thing I'm trying to get people to understand. Like, you hear a lot of people say, well, I just wish more people talk to men. Right?
Yes.
And you'll hear that a lot, and I'm like, you're doing it. Men seek answers too, right? We're not like people that just go as her. I think we give men a discredit. We're like, we make us feel so shallow.
Yes.
We don't have any depth.
Yes.
But men seek just because they're not arguing on the internet.
I was just gonna say, because it's not a safe space usually in public.
It's not a safe space, and because we get attacked, and so men ask for answers. Like, what's the thing Michael Bay used to say all the time? Men cry in the dark. Right? And that's what happens. It's not just because you don't see it, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And men want to know how to be better for you all, for women. It's not just because we're selfish. We want to know how to be better too.
Now, this was supposed to be like a two-parter, but this was just so meaty and, what I was researching. But y'all put the comments if you want him to come back, because I really want to. I love these conversations, by the way, with you, Troy.
I do too.
Look, I'm going to keep inviting him until he blocks me on this phone. But I want to have a conversation about why so many women's behavior towards men is toxic. And yes, I'm using that word. That's a big word. But there is such a double standard when it comes to what women are allowed to do and what men aren't. And there are many things that men do wrong. But with women, I just feel that there is a lack of empathy and consideration, even when you go as far as to say, this is a tangent, guys, I'm sorry. But even when I do posts that say, men, what do you think about this? I have to put so many disclaimers. And even after like 3 or 4 disclaimers, there will still be women on there. I'll do polls. Men, what do you think? And boop. And people don't know how to undo it, so they're stuck. There are always women voting. And it's like, men can't have anything, it feels like. And so I want to unpack psychologically why. Okay, so look, you ready for that? If you guys want to hear that discussion, let me know. She said, definitely have him back. You guys are always dropping knowledge as much as you did. Oh, thanks, Sherelle. Akira says, yeah, definitely invite him back. What do you say? And more than once a week? I'm not sure if that means live stream. Man, y'all know what goes into live streams. Woo!
Oh, it's so much work.
Oh my God. Ashley says, good. And then, you guys, we have 6 likes. We got to get those likes up. YouTube is not going to know. I really want people to see this. The people watching this could be your future husband, your future wife. These, people need to hear this information. So like that. It takes 1 second, y'all. Just hit that little like button and let's hit it. Let's hit it and subscribe even better. There was something I was going to say, but I want to have that conversation because so many women cannot see through a man's eyes. And because you guys work so hard to be seen as tough and strong, which you're supposed to be, it goes to the extreme sometimes. The same thing with our parents. We see our parents as like bulletproof and they don't have feelings and all that. And so we got to figure out that middle ground because I'm sick of seeing men getting abused and just taking it. I'm sick of it. She said she shared your page as well. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Whew. Okay.
This is good. This is good. I can't wait till we have that conversation.
I'm glad you like it.
I think I asked somebody the other day. I said, do women ever hold each other accountable? But I always wonder, like in your circles, in your groups, like is there? Because I hear women say all the time, like, do men ever hold each other accountable? Like, you'd be surprised, but yeah, we kind of do. But maybe it's not for the behavior you think we should be holding each other accountable for, but for certain things, yes, I think we do. So I always wonder, like, are you ever trying to see it from our perspective? Because women will say all day, Auntie, they'll say, I want your perspective. But if it's not what they agree with, then they discredit it.
So I'm making a note because I have 2 separate topics I want to talk about. The other thing we were supposed to talk about specifically was women with emotions and not being able to control them. I liken it to dealing with a child. Like, if there are certain things the parent knows the child's like 2, you don't want to do in a private or a public place because it's going to make them flip out. It's like, just give them the candy, just give them the candy. Because you don't want that, like that. And I liken women's reactions to that, where it's like, they say, happy wife, happy life. I think it's really sad and embarrassing on behalf of my gender that there are so many things that men have to do to kind of just tiptoe, like, okay, we're just going to leave it. Okay, you can have that. It's like the dog with something, and try to take it away. You're like, oh, okay, you can have that. We shouldn't be so sensitive. And the reason why I went on that tangent was to answer your question. I think that a lot of women are not comfortable holding other women accountable because there's such defensiveness. And I think that we as women, we are not held accountable oftentimes for things. We are the more delicate sex. We, all these things. But I feel like it's gone to the other extreme. Like men taking women out on dates. Okay, just because he's paying doesn't mean you can't be grateful or have a positive attitude. So I feel like it's like we've catered so much to women. We need to kind of reel it back where we're giving people a healthy dose of reality. Because the guys gave it to me. I didn't realize that. I was that girl who was like, if you give me attention, I'm going to wait 2 weeks before I give it back because I need to make sure that you really like me. And they're like, man, we're humans with feelings. We don't know that you like us back. So therefore we're leaving within those 2 weeks because you didn't give us enough indication you liked us back. And I was like, oh, the princess test didn't work.
It's so many things we've taught our princesses that are detrimental to them in their dating and relationship lives.
Yeah. And Akira makes a great point. She said, I'm just saying, it also has to do with where women are in their growth. Akira says some women can't handle being held accountable. Exactly. And that's that insecurity. When you're so triggerable, you are more sensitive. When you are, you know, I said a real man can cry because he knows crying is not going to have any indication on who he is as a man, his stature. It takes a big person to do that. Okay, so we've talked about why it is so hard. We talked so long, my mouse froze. Okay, my little graphic is messed up, so y'all hold on. I'm OCD. I'm not about to have y'all see this little graphic not correct. Hold on. That was triggering me earlier. Okay, there we go. Apologizing, how to do it well. So that's the next and last category. I've got 9 more minutes of your time, and then I'll do the rest monologue style because I know you're 3 hours ahead. You got to go. Okay, so this was a TED Talk. There was a TED Talk I want to reference. I have to give credit. I love getting credit for content creators. So Robert M. Gordon did a TED Talk, and he was talking about how to apologize effectively. So he's the one I'm going to be referencing a lot, and I know you're going to be able to chime in on this. But I want to give 5 really wrong ways before I get into his points of how to apologize, okay? So how about I set it up, and then you give an example.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but, or I should say expound upon it. I'm sorry, but, and we kind of got this earlier. If you hadn't
I'm sorry, but I wouldn't do this if you wouldn't do that.
I just took away all my accountability.
All of it. It killed the whole apology.
It stinks just like a butt.
Yep.
Yeah, I hate that, the apology. Okay, here's the second one. Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way.
Ooh, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I didn't mean it that way. You just took it that way.
Oh, so I'm the one with the issue. I'm just too sensitive, or
exactly. You're just too sensitive. I mean,
so you didn't do anything wrong. Your problem was just being in proximity to me, the sensitive one.
Just throw the whole apology away.
So what did you say? You want to be heard and you want to be validated. That is 100% not validating the person. And I always like to say this, just because you apologize doesn't mean you are admitting guilt. You are simply saying, I love you, whether it's as a friend, a coworker, a lover. I love you enough that it hurts me knowing that you were hurt in the process. There was collateral damage. So the innocent action happened, but the collateral damage is that this person was hurt. Therefore, I am apologizing for that collateral damage. You're not apologizing, saying I intended, I'm a bad person. Number 3, explaining your emotions and rationalizing and justifying your behavior. So I wrote it backwards, so I had to kind of think on my feet. So the wrong way to do it is rationalizing and justifying versus explaining your emotion behind what you did. So can you give an example of you're just explaining the emotion where your head was at versus now I'm explaining it away?
Yeah, you might say, I apologize for what I did, but in that moment, here's what I was feeling. I felt attacked. I felt disappointed. I felt X, Y, Z. I felt these in that moment. It doesn't make it correct, but I just wanted you to understand what I was feeling in that moment. So I apologize.
Yes. And I think that's so crucial because, like I said, when I said this isn't all just black and white, we're giving this advice, but it doesn't mean that one person's just a martyr, like, I'm going to take whatever he gives me. No, it's just understanding how to resolve conflict and get the outcomes that you want. So let's just say, for example, you had just suffered a loss. Like some people lash out when they're sad. Somebody could have just buried a parent and, they go to order food and they overly snap at the waitress. They can apologize when they they kind of realize, dang, I went too far. Or maybe their spouse looked at them and they're like, dang, I went too far, huh? When you say to the waitress, I am so sorry. I just left the gravesite. Like I am a wreck right now. But it's not a but. It's not it's okay though, because you're just giving context. I'm normally not like this. I'm just beside myself. I'm so sorry. I should have never snapped at you. You're fully taking ownership of it, but you're giving context. And sometimes, and just like the guy said, hey, I would normally give this, but I've been hurt so many times in the past. Is it okay if I slowly build up to showing you my full 10, love? And then how can you not find the person endearing and you give them empathy? Okay. Number 4, there's 4 out of 5. Avoid monologue. So the wrong way to apologize is doing a monologue. And then here's my monologue. I'm sorry, da-da-da, ba-da-da, da-da-da. Okay. And then I want to leave. I offended you, but I just monologue and I want to leave. Let the people know what the problem is here.
I'm like, I don't even remember what you apologized for.
You're going on, and you're not letting that person vent. So a lot of times it's this like give and take, right? Like, Troy, I'm so sorry. I stood you up. I totally forgot. I was scheduled to do that speaking event with you. I am so sorry. Then if you have something to say, you might need to purge. And again, you're not doing an overkill where you're already crucifying the person, but you might say, Yancy, I took a big hit. Like, I really stuck my neck out there and I had to line up so many favors to get this gig. It really did some damage. That's just you getting it off your chest. But if I have an attitude, I already apologize, and you just wanted to wrap it up, it makes that person feel like their feelings really didn't matter. It's more about you getting it off your chest. So,
yes.
Is this good stuff? This article was like awesome. Okay.
It's really good.
And then the last one is the rushed apology. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Oh my gosh. It's like, it feels so disingenuous.
You didn't even finish saying what you're mad about, and I'm already okay. Okay, Troy. Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay. Gosh. I'm sorry. Okay. Gosh.
I said I'm sorry. You haven't accepted it yet. You haven't accepted my apology. I said I'm sorry already.
It's like the tone matters, right? And the time to process it matters. I mean, this is all about getting over yourself. And being able to get out of, if you can get over yourself and your ego, you can communicate a good apology.
And you can, they say like, oh, I felt that was sincere. It really comes from your spirit. Yes, you can't physically see it. It's not something visible. We all know when it comes from the spirit. And so I think this, knowing that you're not saying I owned this thing, I'm apologizing for the disconnect, that will allow you to go to that authentic place and say, I'm genuinely, it truly, my assistant did not put it in my schedule, or my computer, my phone calendar didn't sync. I am so sorry. I am not saying, I was over here like, screw Troy, I don't care about this speaking event. I am truly feeling your pain because I'm listening to you telling me your side. I'm like, dang, this might have cost you that book deal. You might never speak at that convention center again because of me. Man, I can get outside of myself and empathize with you. And then the irony is that when the person who's at fault empathizes, a lot of times the person who was the victim kind of feels bad. They're like, let me reel it in. I'm not even telling her the rest that I got a flat tire and a ticket when I was there. Because you're trying to repair what was broken. So those are the 5 ways to do it wrong. This is, all right, so I'm going to get into the paradigm shift and the 3 main elements of a good apology. If you have to sign off right now, that's totally fine. Like I said, I can monologue it from here. But I remember last time you tried to stay up and you were like sleeping at work.
I was over here yawning on the live stream. So let's go through this segment and then I'm out.
Okay. And if you have to go before that, just give me the church finger. All right. So this is the part where it's specifically from Robert M. Gordon. You guys can Google his TED. You can Google his TED Talk, or it was on YouTube. It was really good. Because this is just bullet points, but he gives like a 14-minute presentation. He said you gotta have a paradigm shift. So the first thing that needs to happen if you want to go from being a sucky apologizer to a really expert level, black belt level apologizer, you have to shift your paradigm. You have to go from, I need to get something from you. The getting is, I need to get this forgiveness from Troy. I got to get back in his good graces. Oh, I'm on the outside. I got to get back in. and it's me focused. And so, oh, I put do not disturb. I don't know how that thing is still. Sorry. Don't you love that little animation?
It's cool.
Yeah, it's like looking for phone. Yeah, it's weird. I put do not disturb, but somehow the call came through. Anyway, he said, so it's a defense. You're defending yourself and you want to seek forgiveness. And again, it's all about me. And what you just said was we have to get outside of ourselves. So if you come in to, she said, hashtag getting over yourself. If you're coming into the apology already with that mindset, all right, look, I need this forgiveness. All right, Troy, you already off to a bad start.
And look, all the people in the audience right now, I hope they're taking notes because somebody needs to go apologize for something tonight.
Something.
I know somebody in the audience needs to apologize to somebody tonight, and they were going to do it the old way. We're going to teach them the new way. I want to know how it works.
You know what they need to apologize for, Troy? They need to apologize for 10 people watching right now and only 7 likes. That's what they need to apologize.
Get them likes up.
Get them likes up. I'm going to be like Kevin Samuels. I'm not going to go on until I get my likes. He does that. He like turns the music on, blasts them in their ears. He's like, we ain't fooling with these algorithms. I'm not that bad. All right, so the next one. So shift your paradigm. Oh, so I told you the bad one. So don't have it, give me your forgiveness. It is give. So you are giving something in order to repair the severed and damaged relationship. I did something wrong. You're admitting guilt. Sorry. You go from I did something wrong, which is I need forgiveness, to I caused you pain, which is the ownership of the intended event. So have that position. You're not coming in, oh, forgive me, I'm not worthy. It's, oh my God, my brother, my sister, my whatever, you're hurt. It's coming to their aid. Yes. And it's like you're looking at that. And can I give a really wild example? It's like somebody who hit someone with their car. Okay, you hit some pedestrian in the crosswalk. The person in the crosswalk was in the wrong. They were walking when it wasn't their turn. But a normal person would jump out of the car and come to their aid, make sure they're okay, make sure they're alive, call 911. In this scenario, the person who doesn't do it right is jumping out of the car, trying to first assess who was wrong. Yeah. Shouldn't have been in that crosswalk. How did you not see me coming? I have this huge 4x4. What is wrong with you? You would look like a nut, but that's what you look like with apologies when you don't come in with that.
That's exactly how it looks.
Tend to the offended party first. Okay, so the next one is the 3-minute. Okay, so that's you have to shift your paradigm. So now you can have these 3 elements. So if you guys are taking notes, these are the 3 you want to write down. You always want these 3 when you apologize. First, acknowledge the wrongdoing. So I offended you by not coming to your event. I am so sorry that I missed your event. That was horrible. And you start with an I. You start at the I and you make a clear statement of the transgression. I did not come through when I said I would come through for your speaking event. And then you let them know how it was. That was really, really not cool of me. I'm so sorry. So you're acknowledging what's happening. 2, you express remorse and empathy. I hate that this happened. I feel so terrible. I can't even imagine what it had to be like for you seeing those curtains open and I wasn't sitting on my stool where we would rehearse and I was supposed to be or whatever. I can't imagine. God, you must have been so pissed. I'm surprised you're not even going harder. When you really, and it's not fraudulent, you're not over the top with it, but when you really go there, it lets that person know like, damn, they really do feel bad. They really are sorry. And then, okay, that was an example. I'll have to read that. And then the last one is restitution. So we have acknowledgement of wrongdoing, express remorse and empathy, and then finally restitution. You have to build trust by working to be a better person. And I'll give the 3 and then let you comment on the 3. I'll remind you the 3. But restitution, let's say, for example, a partner cheated. And, we have the rushed apology. I'm sorry. Or, I just apologized last week. We're talking about this again? The rushing might not be in the quickness of you responding. It could be in you're rushing their process of healing. Yes. And so you have to understand it's going to take work. If I let you down with this speaking engagement, even though it was an accident, I have to understand it might be a while before I get invited again. It might take some clubhouse, speaking engagements before you invite me to something that actually cost you money and plane tickets were involved. And I have to be okay with that because I'm getting outside of myself.
Exactly.
Understand you'll have to apologize several times and continue to comfort your partner if this isn't a loving relation, we call it romantic relationship. And then the same thing, like if you're in a business, the other example you gave is like if you're a business owner, let's say you got the person's order wrong. I used to do marketing for a restaurant, and we would send people on their way with the wrong food, and it was horrible. They drove all the way home excited to have whatever they're supposed to have, and they didn't. You have to go through all these steps, admit you did something. I am so sorry we messed up your order. I can't imagine how you must feel. You were so ready to have those tacos, and now they're not in your bag, whatever. And then 3, restitution. You know what? Not only are we going to replace these, the next time you come in, we're going to throw in ... and we're going to blah, 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 blah. This is showing that not only do you care, but I'm willing to show you that I'm going to work to get your trust back.
That's it.
If you do those 3 steps, ain't nobody going to be mad at you.
That's it. Look, what's the one meme that you see all the time is the best apology is change behavior.
I love that quote.
Right? And so it's so true. It's like people want to apologize and then go back to doing the same thing they've been doing.
Yes.
It's like, what was the point of your apology? Right? And I'll mind you, you may need time to change and shift behavior. Behavior changes are not easy. But, man, you got to still acknowledge it, right? And then you got to really show action steps, towards. What people got to do, too, the people receiving these apologies, they got to be good at helping people understand the alternative preferred behavior, too. Right? Yeah. How would you rather me have handled the situation? So I see that sometimes, too. We think people should just know what they wanted.
Like the example that I said. He thought he was contacting me every morning, which he was. But what I needed was to clarify, no, I would like to know what time you're going to be calling so I can schedule. Yeah.
Yep. And sometimes it's not the other person's, job to come up with a solution for you. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes it really is. It's like, you got to give me the roadmap. Help me understand a little bit better. There's a lot of people that'll be like, well, I don't know. It's like, well, how can I do this better if you don't help me understand how to do it better?
Yes. And what's crazy is if the person who's offended doesn't even know. So it's like, you don't even know, but you expect.
Ooh, they just know it's not that. They don't know what it is.
Ooh, I hate working with clients. I used to do graphic design stuff, and they'd be like, I just really want it to be bold. I really want to just speak to the customer. I'm like, okay, are we talking like military font? Are we talking like flowery font? Like, they would give no direction, but they would just be like, yeah, but that's not it. Yeah. Not helpful at all.
It's like, it goes back to yourself.
Yes.
Understanding what you need and what you desire and how you desire things and being able to communicate those things.
Yes.
You see, a lot of men, because, men are kind of fixers, right? So a lot of men will be asking for that part of it, and the woman can't give it to him.
Yes.
Right? And so he's sitting there like, I can't. He's like, what do I do?
Yes. And they feel helpless. Yeah, I think that's so important that you let the person know the action plan, like you said, and how to remedy the situation. And also, when someone is complaining about something, it might not even be to the point where they're angry. They just want it to be tweaked. Like, when you put your cup there, it keeps leaving a ring. So it's not a big deal. You're just saying, just moving forward, please don't do that. And that's why it's so important, like I said at the very beginning, to have this healthy self-esteem, I guess is a good word, so that when that person does mention that tiny little thing, you don't see it as they're trying to throw the whole baby away with the bathwater. It's just bathwater. And it's probably not even the whole bathwater. It's just probably like a few drops out of the faucet.
That's all it is. Your feelings, people call it now, why you in your feelings? That's what they say.
All in your feelings.
Why you all in your feelings? Well, because I haven't processed it well enough to understand it wasn't about this. It was really just about this.
Yeah. That's good stuff. Link says, and hey, Link, this looks like a new name, so welcome if it's your first time watching. He said, why is it that so many women find it so difficult to take accountability, admit fault, and apologize? I blame Western society due to what is the norm in our country. Can we speak on this? We actually you must have just tuned in, because we were just talking about that not even 10 minutes ago. And I was just saying how much we cater to women, but we're going to we're going to be talking again. I kind of put him on the spot, and he kind of committed.
You don't have to put me on the spot. We will talk about this. We'll do a whole show on it if we need to.
Okay, good, because I got 2 separate shows, Link. So we're talking about women who don't create a safe space for men, who demand the very thing that they're not willing to give men back. And then the other one is women who are not able to control their emotions. And then I think we can probably tie in there, that's where the accountability comes in, because without being able to control your emotions, you're just going off of how you feel. It's not about logic. So,
well, a lot of times that accountability feels like a tax, and really, it's not. But when men respond that way, it's like, why are you all in your feelings, man? Right? But it was like it's triggering. It's triggering things that get internalized. So that's just a teaser into it.
A little teaser. So stay tuned, subscribe so you get the notifications. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you follow Troy. Let me see if I can get back to my let's see here. Boom. We got to get to your IG. There we go. You can follow him here. I'll get better with my I keep forgetting I haven't hit the little button. Boom. There's his social media. So jot that down. Follow him. He has really good content, you guys. So go ahead and follow him, and you can get more information with what he's got going on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So I think that is pretty much it. I'm going to do my closing thoughts without you, so you can get your good sleep. Yeah, I feel like I kind of like warmed up a little bit more. I was struggling at the beginning. My brain was just like, maybe it's hunger too. Thank you so much, Troy. You guys, I put the link to his book in the description. And so take a look at that. A lot of people have been getting it. Super blessed. I know we have some people on here. Very good. Who have gotten it. They're excited. Oh, there we go. Now you can see the light is perfect right there. Give a quick elevator pitch as to why people need this book. What makes this book different from the bajillion other love and relationship books?
Oh, yeah. I always tell people, this is not a how-to book. This is a change your mindset book. That's what it's about, right?
Love
so
that.
by the time you finish reading the book, it's not about a bunch of, 1, 2, 3 steps to getting this. It's about how do we think about things and how do we think about ourselves when it comes to relationships. But I wrote it for people who were tired of being on the emotional roller coaster, tired of doing the same stuff over and over and over again and getting the bad results.
Yep.
Right? So I want to help people get off that roller coaster. And one thing that I love about it is it's a short read. So like people love it because they can read it pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. It's like 100 pages. But it's like a conversation with me. The way we're talking tonight.
I was going to say,
that's what we have.
Is it similar to your ebook? Does it read in the same way?
Yeah, in the same way. But even it was even more polished than the ebook. I was kind of young and still kind of doing stuff.
Yeah.
This is like we're sitting here, we're having this dialogue, and we're telling stories, and we're talking.
Okay.
And that's why people like it.
Because the ebook was good. That's what I'm saying. If the ebook was good, then dang.
I always tell people, go read the reviews. Like if you go to Amazon and just read the reviews, and then you'll understand why I'm telling you to go buy the book.
I love it. I'm so honored. I'm great. I'm glad to have you on. And that's Sherelle. See, I was going to say, I knew she had it. She said, yes,
Sherelle,
great book.
My girl.
Yeah, it definitely bridged the gap between understanding men and women. So I love it. I love it. And Sherelle is also, shout out to her. She is a certified sex and intimacy coach. I want to get the titles right. So correct me if I'm wrong, Sherelle. But Sherelle is so sweet. She's so passionate about what she does. And she wants to teach people intimacy. Like it goes so far beyond, so much further than just, sex itself and climax and all that. It's the intimacy portion and all the psych behind it. So I love it. There are layers and levels to this. She said close enough. You can type it in, love. Type it in so I can say it correctly. But I love that. I also have opened up the conversation for anybody who wants to join for my group. I have an online group of friends, and we have candid conversations all the time. And so if anybody is watching that and they want to be part of it, then they can join in. And I just realized that I didn't give the login information. I messaged everybody saying, let me know if you want to come on. And then I didn't even check my email. So if you guys are wanting to, I'll probably check in a second and see if you guys have asked for it, and I'll send you the link so you guys can come on and join in. But that's that. Any closing thoughts before you go and get your good night?
Yeah, I mean, I would say number one, thank you for the platform that you're building. It's impacting people all over the world. I'm telling you, it's worth it. Just keep doing it. Keep doing it.
That means a lot.
We just did a whole half a year show on how to apologize effectively,
Man.
right? And people need those skills, right? It's one thing to get on here. If we would have got on here and argue with each other back and forth, right? People would have been entertained, but they would have left with no skills.
Yes.
So people left with skills and actionable things they could do to apologize better and to create better intimacy with their partner. And that's what I'm so happy about. Thanks for having this conversation.
Aww.
And thanks for letting me go to sleep now.
You're welcome, darling. All right, we'll see you next time. Everybody tell Troy bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. All right, so I'm going to go into, let's see, I'm going to share my closing thoughts, you guys. I'm trying with this technology, you guys. I'm really, really trying. And let's see, how do I flip this? I think, let me see if I can flip it, you guys. It's supposed to work. Nope, that didn't work. It's still the same way. All right. I don't know why. Well, you guys are just going to have backwards. Oh, no, it did do it. Yay. All right. So I'm still learning all this technology, you guys. Those of you who saw the last 3 live streams, oh my God, I was sweating bullets. I was so stressed out because I was having all these technical issues. Link says, what about if it's too late before she realizes she took too long to get her act correct? Is it safe to say that she's really not the one for you in general, or if it's a reverse scenario? I would say if you're dealing with a person who is not emotionally intelligent, you might really want to consider weighing it out. Are the good times outweighing the bad? Because if somebody is not emotionally intelligent, that means that you're going to have the same problems over and over again. Most people are okay with dealing with problems that you deal with them and then you move on from them and then you address a different problem down the road. But when you have a person who has fundamental emotional problems, they have the inability to exercise the type of stuff we're talking about now, you're going to keep revisiting the same things over and over again. And that's what gets exhausting. That's what gets exhausting. Most people get annoyed with the fights that are over the same thing. They're okay with a new thing being introduced and then we tackle that and then a new thing. But most people, they don't deal with that. And that's usually a sign of not having emotional intelligence. Sherelle says, basically, the question to ask yourself is, if she never changes, will you be okay with that? I think so many people, and Rude voices that part, so many people go in hoping that someone will improve. And here's the thing. My father said this. People are always at their very best at the beginning of a relationship. So if you're going into a relationship and the person is showing this side of them, it is only going to get worse because it's just like a job. You get a job, you might be all excited at the beginning, and you come in 10 minutes early and you wear your best clothes and you go over the top and shoot for the stars. 6 months into that, man, a year in, you are slacking, you're rolling up 30 minutes late. It's a totally different situation. So relationships, people are just human and we tend to fall off our game towards, over time. So that's that. I want to, let's see here. I want to again do a shout out to Shampoo Buddy. I'm going to show this one more time. Who is responsible for this episode? I'm trying to go backwards with this mirrored camera. Okay, Shampoo Buddy, if you guys missed at the beginning, super awesome product. Thank you so much. I received this last week and I was able to wash my daughter's hair. And it sits on the counter just like it's sitting on this box. And you can have the child, if they're little enough, they can lay from this direction and then put their head here and their hair falls down into the sink. Or you could turn it this way. And just like in the picture, you could see the different ways. Whoops, let me turn it like that. You can see the different ways that you can use the product. So they could sit in a chair in front of the sink. They could sit alongside of a bathtub. Or they can be on the counter. I prefer counter because it gives me best access. But it was awesome. I actually spoke with the owner. Great lady. She's a mom and she created this product. And it's on Amazon. It's really, really cool. God needs to tag. What? Oh, tag team with me. She's not changing when she's not changing. That's funny. Oh, hey, Jordan. Welcome. And I believe you recently had a birthday, so happy belated birthday. Okay, so I got all my stuff. Oh, so this is one of the things I was saying. One of the speakers that I referenced in those articles was saying that it's so important, and this is where Troy was all in my notes. It's so important for parents to apologize to their children and to apologize in the right way. Because you are teaching your children the standard and you need to model the good behavior. We can't have the attitude of do as I say, not as I do. They're going to watch and subconsciously take in what we're doing with our actions. So super, super important. The other thing, this is a little fun fact to close with. The University of Illinois study found that people who apologize tend to fare better financially over those who didn't. So that's wild. People tend to do better financially who apologize. And again, there's the psychological aspect that we broke down. When you're secure in yourself, an apology is nothing. I mean, it might be like a 1 on a scale of 1 to 10. It's not crucial pain of a 10. It's just kind of like, kind of sucks. But you get on with it because you know who you are. And if you keep doing that same thing over and over again, then you maybe need to take a deeper look and say, maybe I am kind of messed up and I need to look at this further. Now is the time. If you guys have any questions, ask your questions now because I'm going to be closing very shortly. If you guys would like to advertise, if you want to advertise on one of my episodes, send me a DM and make sure you start off with Sunday Live. So I open it up because I get a lot of messages. The best thing to do is to email me, which you can do through the link in my IG bio, my IG profile. But if you want to advertise, and let me tell you why this is a really great thing to do. Unlike a TV spot or a radio spot, if the person doesn't hear it live, they don't hear it. YouTube videos are evergreen. There are videos that I've seen that are like 2010, 2014. They're around for a very long time. So if you guys want to advertise your business, this is a great opportunity to do so. The Real Blackula. Oh, that's cute. Good evening. I love your show. Oh, that's so sweet. You're so pretty with that long, thick hair. Don't you ever cut your hair short. Thank you. That's so sweet. Now, let me tell you something. I would never cut it short. I did it once when I was, I think, 18. I got a big old dome, y'all. So I can't be looking like E.T. like I got a phone home. Rude Boy says, in that parent segment, it was one of my aha moments. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I love that. I love that. Okay, guys. So we are about changing. Okay. We want to change from the inside out. There is so much stuff, and I hope you guys are still, oh cool, you're still on. I'm looking to see what's on right now. There is so much stuff that we are not even aware of consciously. So many things that are affecting us negatively, and we think that it's other people and situations that are affecting our lives. We have so much power. And for me, when I went through my transformation, it was one of those things where it's like when you get a really good product, you want to share it with everybody. I want everybody to be able to understand how to harness your power, how to fully take ownership of your life and have nothing be able to get you down that you haven't decided I'm going to be down about this. So I've put together a group. It's called the Sunshine Club, and we meet on Facebook. And if you guys are interested in having accountability, it doesn't matter what your goals are. There are people from my Sunshine Club here right now watching this. It doesn't matter your goals. We all try to aim for our goals together. I'm in there too. So I have my goals as well. Every single day I check in with them, see if they've done their daily things that everybody needs to do, like working out, meditation, things like that. But then every Tuesday we do a live video call and we go through and talk about what has happened in that past week and then set up our goals for the next week. So if you guys want to join in, we're this little community. We bonded together. It's a fun little thing. If you want even more help, you can also sign up for one-on-one coaching, and everything is in the description. All the links are there. So if you need information, let me know. He said, you don't have a Discord server. No, I tried to. I really tried to set that up, but I kept getting this error message saying like your server or something. Yeah, so if you want to inbox me about the tech side of that, I have no idea what that means to have a Discord server. He said Facebook is so old. You know, I'm old. I'm 40, so it's in my demographic. But no, I do know that a lot of people aren't on Facebook, but that's where I am for now until God blesses me with the platform where I can totally customize it and make it the way that I want. Lyrica says, Link says, so true. Thank you. Okay. So I think that's pretty much it. I want to say thank you so much for watching. If you guys have any questions, now is the time to do it. I promise you each week I'm going to try to step up the technology and make it as interesting as possible. I'm still learning all the software on top of trying to do all my content for the week. So little by little that's happening. But you guys follow me on Instagram if you want to stay in touch during the week. Like I said, I do all my announcements there. I just did a webinar last week. So everybody who was on Instagram knew about the webinar, and we had a lot of people show up. It was really fun. But I'm going to be doing some amazing things, you guys. The reason why it's so crucial for me to hit my goals is because it'll free me up to be able to start to do the stuff that I really want to do with you guys. I'm just setting the foundation right now in 2021 so that I can then do all the things that are in my mind, because it takes resources to be able to do all that. So I'm getting everything set. And I'm telling you, you day ones who have been here from the beginning, when I'm just like bootleg, rinky-dink, struggle ministry, trying to get my stuff together, I'm telling you, I will never forget the support that you guys give. All the comments that you guys give on YouTube, I read every single one. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, guys, until next time, tell someone that you love them.